Welcome to the Challenge Chronicles. I'm Devin Jordan. I'm with Trace Armstrong and Rob McIntyre. We're here to talk about Spies, Eyes, and Allies, episode 10. Thank you for all of our support that we get on Patreon. If you would like to become a patron, you can go to the Challenge Chronicles. No, you can't go there. You can go to patreon.com/the Challenge Chronicles and subscribe for $4 a month. If I was more prepared, I would have people picked out that we could do shout outs for, but that's the status of the situation. So we'll have to wait until next week for that. What did we think of last night's episode?
God, I'm so excited now.
I'm a big positive. I'm pretty happy about it.
Yeah, I thought it was great.
Yeah.
And as I'm sure everyone that knows me as far as the challenge goes is very well aware, I'm excited about the twist and the format that they decided to take.
Yeah, when they said it was individuals initially, I was pretty disappointed because I feel like that could have just bogged back down to the just some rookies getting thrown in again. But then it was hilarious too because it's Nelson of all people who finishes the mission first. Like, oh my gosh, Nelson's going to get his first daily mission win in since in 2.5 years.
Doesn't matter.
And then it turns out they're just picking teams, and then
we knew that was just the first checkpoint though. Like we knew that wasn't the end of the mission.
I know, but still, he seemed very excited, and it turns out he's actually in a worse position probably because he doesn't even get to pick like who's on his team. He just gets to pick which color he is.
Yeah, you really like the advantage there was coming in at the end.
Yeah, Ed had the right idea, I thought, where he was waiting to at least see where a few people were putting theirs in.
Mm-hmm.
CT was definitely in the sweet spot too because he came in early enough that he could still have. He was able to pick what team was better.
Yeah,
and he was still able to like dictate people that wanted to be on his team, right? Because it seemed like there were multiple people that like chose that team because CT was on it. Even though that team didn't win last night, I think that's the best team, right? Mm-hmm. Are we all in agreement about that?
I think Emerald might be better. I think it'll be close.
This team that CT is on is fucking stacked. Like all those people, with the exception of Nelson, can do puzzles, dude. Like I don't even think it's close. It's Amanda, Ashley, CT, Bettina can do puzzles too. Ed can do puzzles and is very good competitively. I think that team is loaded.
But if you're in a team mission, you only need one person to do a puzzle. You don't need.
It doesn't hurt time. We don't necessarily know that. We don't know.
Like, how they're
gonna none of them are physical slouches either. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like Amanda is arguably, or Bettina is arguably the worst athlete on the team, and they're still better than some of the other females that are out there. And every dude is legitimately in good shape. Like their team is awesome. Like awesome.
I had one with Emerald just because I feel like there are horses for just moving stuff and carrying things around. I think that I would lean a little bit towards them. We could both agree that Ruby is by far the worst team.
Let me say this. I think the names for the teams are absolutely fucking terrible. So like right now when you say Emerald and Sapphire, I have no fucking clue who that is. I know that there's a green team, I know there's a blue team, and I know
what color those. Do you know what color those gems are?
No fucking clue, Rob. No one.
You know what an emerald is, Devin?
No, Rob. Wow. No one fucking knows.
What are we doing here? With Devin, what's Devin been buying Rob, his mom
no one knows, Rob. Like
what
no one gives a shit about no one.
The general public. I'm actually with Devin on this. Yeah.
Know.
That's insane. That's insane.
Why can't they be red, blue, and green?
Rob, people don't
because it sounds cooler.
Rob, who cares if it sounds cooler? No one knows what the fuck it's gonna mean for a twist that's gonna last like 2 episodes. Rob, do you know what oil is made of? No. Do you know what plastic is made of? No one knows what the fuck plastic is, so no one's gonna know what color of fucking sapphire.
People know what colored emeralds in a sapphire and a ruby.
I think you're giving people way too much credit.
Did you know?
I mean, I'm a very educated dude. I kind of know, but at the same time, I can't. If you were to tell me it's an emerald, there's different colored emeralds. Sapphire, I kind of knew it was kind of greenish.
I still don't know. No. So Sapphire
and green. Ruby.
No. Sapphire's blue, emerald's green, ruby's red.
Look at that right there.
That's crazy. That is crazy.
No, Rob. People don't fucking.
I don't memorize specialty colors.
It's
I know
not memorizing. You just pick it up from osmosis.
Yeah, because I spend a lot of time searching for emeralds and rubies.
Like you're out on a complete island on this. Like,
I am not on a complete island. We will put this out to the public, and we will see.
And they're all gonna respond like, "Yeah, I didn't really know." And don't really care.
Rob, I know you like moonlight at Gem and Mineral Connection.
Yeah, definitely
on the weekend, but like
I'm with the people with the gemstones.
We got shit going on.
It's just
so I don't know. So who's the?
I'm like Cory, man. I got kids. All right.
Let's run down the green team again. Who's the worst person on the green team? So it's Devin, Josh, Emmanuel, Casey, Nani and Tori. Like that team's definitely like pretty solid.
It's Nani, and she's not even that bad.
I love like that the Ruby team exists though.
It's
the red
a hot
team
mess.
Like, I mean, this is the shit why I love team seasons. You know what I mean? Like, you can't like Cory is like in the position of a leader.
Well, he's going to be
like,
Brad.
He's the leader.
Just Brad on the ruins, right?
He is Brad on the ruins.
Like, but even worse. You know
Kyle
what I mean?
is Dunbar.
Because,
Kyle
because
playing
like,
the part of Dunbar.
Brad is capable of being a leader, right?
Yes.
Cory is not capable of being a leader, right?
Well,
like
we'll certainly find out if he is.
The scene where he is at the club and the entire team is sitting around them and he's trying to like lift up their spirits, that's hilarious. And I thought the funniest moment of the entire episode, one of the funniest moments of the season, is when they're at deliberation. The entire red team is there, all wearing red with the exception of Kyle, and he starts dogging on Kyle because he couldn't even wear the right color. And Kyle was wearing the team color of the team that won the elimination. Like, come on. Like, that is fucking hilarious.
And Kyle, even his confessional was like, fuck you, Cory. I hate this team.
I was thinking about it. You get like tension like that in team seasons that you don't necessarily get in individual seasons because these people are forced to work together, right? Like, they have to like try and work together.
Yeah.
And when you get people like Cory and Kyle trying to work together, it's just like really good character moments of them just like being combative sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think a lot of the best parts of the challenge come when you have unlikely bedfellows and people that are forced to work together or be in opposition that normally wouldn't have to. They would just kind of ignore each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's why they try to emphasize that moment in the previously on before the show started, when they gave visibility to the moment last week where Cory and Kyle started to go at it after Kyle voted for Cory to go into elimination.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that team's going to be a mess. I felt bad for Big T that CT like pushes her onto the Ruby team and then she realizes that her team is just terrible by the end of it. Especially they lost Priscilla too. It seemed like she was probably going to be their best girl, and it's just Emmy, Big T, Kyle, Cory, and I mean that like what are we if this thing lasts for like 5 episodes? Let's say, are they getting a mission win?
No. Like
they're down in the numbers too now. Maybe there's something where that favors them eventually, but that's usually going to be a negative.
That was going to be my question. How long do we think this twist will realistically last?
Oh, I think it's going to go to the final. I think it's going to go to the final, but they're going to do a purge. I don't think so. They're purging. They're got to do a purge now. Because if they're going to go one at a time, okay.
It does line up for a purge.
It lines up perfectly for a purge, whether it's at the beginning of the final or before the final. They're going to cut down to like 4 people per team at most.
They're not. I can't see them running teams in the final though.
Why not?
I would love it. It's not going to happen.
Go towards the War of the Worlds 2.
Money.
That War of the Worlds 2 style final. That would be really interesting with these teams. Like it would be. The Ruby team is a hot mess, so I'll be surprised if I'm Kyle, I'm begging them to throw me into elimination.
Just so you can switch.
Just so you can try to switch, because if you don't, you're gonna lose anyway. So you might as well throw the Hail Mary.
I mean, I love how like they immediately, because they haven't done a team season in a while, and a lot of these people haven't done a team season, right? So I love how they quickly started to like take on the team season strategy, right? Because it was when the green team, after they won the mission and they were trying to decide, because they didn't know how the second person was going to be thrown into elimination, right? They knew one person would come from a house vote. How the second person would go in, they didn't know. And so the green team had a conversation as if they would be the ones voting in the second person, right? Devin brought up, do we just throw in, I think he initially wanted to throw in, who did he want to put in, Rob?
Ashley.
No. He did not want to put in Ashley.
He wanted to put Priscilla in initially.
Priscilla, right? He wanted to put in Priscilla. And then Josh is like, no, like we're not going to put in Priscilla. Or no, I think he may have wanted to put in Bettina, right?
Yeah,
like,
okay. It was Bettina and
Priscilla. He wanted to put in Bettina.
Well, he mentioned Emmy too, right?
Yeah.
Well, that came up a little bit later. So initially it was on Bettina, and Josh is like, no, like she's their weakest player. Like we don't want to do that. You know what I mean? So they quickly just started to like catch up to speed of back to like what it's like to be on a team season. Then they brought up Emmy, and Emmanuel brought up that, the general consensus, what I thought was really interesting about Emmy is that Emmy can be good if there's a strong leader in place to be able to guide her, right? That is not the case on the Ruby team. There's not a strong leader there, and all of them are be able to quickly identify that. And that's when they moved to Ashley as a potential option. And I think they really should have been more transparent with what the format is going to be going forward. They never had a big reveal of this is now a team season. And I think, one, they lose a little bit from that, or it's a team season for the moment. So they lose a little bit for that. And I also think it like inhibits their ability to play the game. So they play a little bit safer, right? Like the house vote was Priscilla. If they came out with this is now a team season for the moment, maybe they take a bigger swing there and it's a little bit more entertaining.
I mean, I think it's just a 1-episode blip though, and then they'll know that now going forward. So I don't mind that as much.
I think now they realize it doesn't matter who they pick because now we're doing the dual style pick 'em. Hey, whoever's going in, you get your choice of anybody but the winners. I mean, that's a big one.
So we should talk about that now, because the number one takeaway I saw from a variety of different people was that this would benefit better competitors, and I don't see that at all. Because now, why exactly? Because if you're on a good team now, you can pick someone to go in. They have no chance of picking you. So if Devin and Josh pick CT to go in, CT can't pick Josh now. Josh is not at risk of going into elimination, and there's really not that many weak competitors.
That's the thing.
How does this? I don't see how that benefits like good competitors at all.
Yeah.
Especially because now if you're on a team, right, and you're a team that wins, or if you're one of the teams like voting the other team in, you want to pick their best competitors to make their team
make them worse. Like, and then not only that, if they can switch at the end of the elimination, hey, maybe CT picks my team now and it's even better for me. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
that doesn't make any sense.
That makes I don't get how that makes any, but that was everybody's takeaway. So maybe I'm just missing something. Yeah. So
what was their takeaway? That they can essentially like pick the person they're going against?
That was part of it. And they're like, it's just, I don't know. Everybody just assumes they'll be cowards, I guess. But
like, I mean, really, like how many weak competitors do we have left?
That's what I'm saying. Especially let's say
on the guys' side, we have like one, maybe two.
Like Josh and Devin would be somewhat people you could kind of pick on depending on the elimination, but I want to call them like they're not outright bad.
No, they're not outright bad. The only two like weak people are Bettina and Big T, and that's really it. Like Emmy might be
that great.
I'm still a little bit lower on Emmy too, and I think for everyone it's obviously going to be context dependent in the elimination. And the thing is too, when you are picked, you will be able to see what the elimination is and pick after that. So if CT sees a hall brawl, he can pick up somebody he's going to be able to beat in a hall brawl. But I don't think that there's like a lot of glaring weak points for people either.
Especially on the guy's side, right? Like I really only think Josh is, I think, the weakest person. And at least Devin has a strength, right? Like
he's very smart. This elimination would have been Devin's jam.
Like I think CT loses in this one to a lot of people.
Wait, why do you think this would be Devin's jam? I honestly don't think like intelligence was that much of a factor.
I don't think the puzzle was that hard.
Well, I think the puzzle wasn't that hard. The intelligence came from working smarter on the sand dig. Like Priscilla went so hot out of the gate that she burned out her cardio, and meanwhile Ashley kind of settled down at 70% and just slogged her way through it.
I suppose.
I think she's just smaller. I think that's what it is. Like she's smaller than Ashley, and she's bigger and in better shape.
I think this one just turned into an endurance competition as much as anything.
Yeah,
and your ability to dig.
That's what I'm saying. But even the person who's in the best shape, unless you're like a CrossFit Games athlete, this is the type of thing that elimination probably took half an hour. I really think it took a while.
At least, I think at least. I mean, so, 8 tires. 8 tires is a lot.
That's a lot of digging. And so my thought process in it is you can't go in hot out of the gate. And Ashley was smart and knew that. And so she just kind of set the cruise control. And meanwhile, Priscilla is trying to frantically go. And the longer the elimination went, you could see her getting more and more tired.
Even if she did pace herself, I think she still fucking loses.
I mean, she wasn't going to win this. This wasn't
like she got blown the fuck out. Like,
I was surprised how well Ashley did, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, she's like noticeably bigger than her when they were standing next to each other.
Yeah, I didn't realize she was that much bigger. Factor. I think that was a big factor. And then I think she just did. She had kind of struggled in her last few eliminations. So this was a good win for her.
Yeah, I think this elimination surprisingly would have really there's a lot of people on the vet side who are good that would have lost this, ironically enough. Like I think that there are several people that would have just bombed this. Like I think Nani would have really stunk on this one. Like just really
I don't think that would have been surprising though. I think she would not have been good. Like I said, I think CT might have, I guess it's just an endurance competition, right? I could see him gassing out before like a Nelson or a Cory would.
Just depends. But the worst decision of this episode though was Kyle. Like Kyle had the opportunity. His reasoning for picking Cory's team was to keep an ey on him. And after he put his whatever it was,
gem, whatever it was,
gem, whatever he was doing, whenever he put his gem on that thing, and then he saw the next person come through and the next person come through, you could look at his face and you could see he's like, I made the worst decision possible.
Is that like the best pairing that we could, like, if we were picking the teams, right, and we wanted to make sure that two people were on the same team, like, is there any other pair that we could come up with that we would like rather have?
I think CT and Josh actually would be pretty fun if they were on the same team.
Yeah, that would be good. It's just, I don't know, dude, like for whatever reason, like,
I mean, I'm actually pretty excited to see Nelson and CT pair though. They'll be, I think, a comedic pairing.
Dude, that's what I mean. When team seasons like happen like this, you know what I mean? You just get some like what you said before. You get these people that are trying to work together, that are forced to work together, that don't necessarily have to work together in other situations.
It's not. Sometimes it's not even that they're opposed. It's just that they normally wouldn't even interact that.
Yeah.
It's not forced parity because there's two really good teams and there's one really shitty team in this
and
situation.
They picked it, like it's their own fault.
It's almost good that it's nice when there's like a disaster tried, right? Like there's like a lot to be said with that, you know, like.
Well, the thing that's nice about this too is there can be one team that's a disaster and there's still a competition between the other.
Yes.
Two.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because the other two teams are very strong, right? Like 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 Big T is one of the weakest people, and she's on the Ruby team. I don't know. It's really like, why is the Ruby team so bad? Is it just because like CT or because Cory is your best player? Is that what it comes down to?
I think Kyle's better than Cory personally. I think that's debatable.
I think it depends on the situation. I think Cory's a better overall player at this point than Kyle is.
I don't know. I don't know if I would agree with that.
I disagree with that wholeheartedly. Actually, I
think it's close though. I don't know how I feel one way or the other about like who's better. It's just like, why are they so bad? You know what I mean? Because Logan's not bad, right?
I think compared to the rest of the guys in a team setting, he's bad. Like I think Josh and Devin are very functional in a team setting. We saw Josh in World of the Worlds.
Wait, who do you think is bad? Who do you think is bad in a team setting?
I think in a team setting, I'd much rather have Devin or Josh than Logan.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah,
definitely.
So I think out of the guys, like in a team setting, he's probably the worst.
Yeah. I think it will be interesting too, because they made a real point of showing him getting injured in the daily.
Yeah.
I wonder if that is going to come back around in the next episode or two. Like maybe he's like actually really hurt, because they made it. They only spent like 15 seconds on it, but there was no reason to show that at all, because it didn't affect the outcome.
You always got to have your alarm.
You got to be ready for it. And I have a feeling that that's what's coming, is you're going to see Logan go out to injury or be ripe for the pickings in the next elimination.
Yeah. I mean, how nice would it be to see Ruby get completely dismantled? It's coming down to like Josh and Kyle, like Cory and Kyle, like fighting for their lives. I mean, that's what I want to see.
I was curious how it's going to work, because I mean, one team could just get completely decimated, right?
Yeah. I mean, personally, this is the way I look at it from a strategy standpoint. If I am the other two teams, I don't throw anyone from that Ruby team in, period, because they're so inept.
They're already bad.
They're already bad. And if they're going to stay teams for the finals, I want that team to stay intact. So if I'm, CT's team and they win, I'm taking my shot at whatever the other color is that's not Ruby.
The thing is, like, I don't want to take a shot at their team. I wouldn't be doing that for the finals. I would be trying to go after some strong players from the other teams, just so to weaken their team, to make it more likely that my team is going to win a mission and stay in power. That's what I would be trying to do.
I think, honestly, that's one we haven't even heard enough, is now people really will be trying in missions, because if you're a good competitor and you lose the mission, you're likely to be thrown in. And if you're a bad competitor, you're likely to be picked by the person who is thrown in.
This is why the way they pick on the duel is so fucking great for the show, is it's like, you might be going in, but you can take your shot. Like, you can really make a huge move and screw everything up. So you have to do well. And like you were just saying, if you don't win, you ain't safe. So you have to try. You can't throw missions now. I mean, I'm sure somebody will try.
There'll be some weird thing where that happens.
They already hinted at it in the trailer that someone was trying to throw missions.
But
so
I and maybe I'm just naive to something, but I don't foresee the throwing missions being as big of an issue as it was on previous seasons.
Yeah, I don't know how it could be.
Why do you think it's not going to be as big of an issue?
Well, because if you're
and like, why is throwing missions an issue?
Well, we can debate that back and forth at a different point in time. But regardless, so like if you're CT, like you're a good competitor and you lose, then you're liable to be thrown in because the team that wins will probably want to pick a good competitor to go in. But if you're a bad competitor like Josh, then you're likely to be picked by the person who's going against. So whether you're on the good or the bad side of the scale, like you're still liable to be put in at any point if you lose.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how long they keep this format.
I don't know how sustainable it is.
I wouldn't mind keeping it till the final and then just having everyone be individuals in the final.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be opposed to that. But based off of the way that they kind of teed this up, like I think this is pretty temporary. So we'll see.
Well, because I just don't, because there's only, I mean, Ruby's down to 5 already, and the other teams only have 6. So there's just not that many people to pick off.
Well, the thing is that, well, I mean, that's a decent amount of time right there. Like if Ruby got completely like decimated, how many episodes left do we have before the final? So we just did 10.
We've probably got 5 or 6.
Well, we think it's going to be at 17 is the last episode before the final, right?
So seven episodes, right? Like they could probably keep it up until the final, or like close to the final.
Yeah. I can see them doing it until like episode 15, 16, and then something happens. They go individuals for a week or 2 and then on the final.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really get what benefit they have to just not saying it's a team season for now. You know what I mean? From like a viewer perspective, you don't get
they
that.
Just like to keep people in the dark.
What do you mean? Like, how is this benefiting them at all?
I don't know how it benefits them, but it's been the precedent that's been set at this point that they're not going to tell people things that they don't have to.
I think they do though. Like that's my issue with this. Like, I think they just have so much more to be gained by saying you're in teams for now. People can actually have a more advanced strategy with this. From a viewer, it's like, okay, they're teams for now. Like partway through the episode, I still wasn't sure if they were teams or not teams. You know,
it took me a bit to get there. Honestly,
yeah,
it took me a bit to get there.
It was honestly not until that when they went to confessionals and showed their name and had
that's what gave it away for me
too. That's when I was like, okay, it's at least teams for the moment.
That's not as much of a hindrance to me. So at the end of the episode, when Ashley's picking her team, so do we assume if she had picked the Emerald team, for example, she would have been switching places with somebody in the Emerald team? How do you think
they would have pulled them out and put
because you can't have it where everybody's just joining Emerald and then Emerald has 10 people.
Oh yeah, no, they'll put that person probably on the team that other person
do you think
left.
She picks?
No, what they'll do is like if Ashley representing her team wins, then what will happen is if she picks a different team, then that person would go back to the team that she just left because it's
what I'm saying.
There's no reason
they pick that person.
There's no reason.
How do they pick that person?
What do you mean?
So at the end of the episode, let's say Ashley decides she wants to join Emerald, and then one of Tori, Nani, or Casey has to go because they don't want more than 6 people.
I think that the person picks. I think the person who's joining the
Ashley
team
picks. That makes sense to me.
That would be the way I'd do it because that's how they've done it the rest of the way. Like I'm stealing so and so's partner, and then that automatically picks out the other person.
And then does she just get sent to Sapphire, or is she going to pick which of the?
She has to consent because why do you reward a team who just lost an elimination?
Yeah, but I don't know about that. I think they might let them pick.
I doubt it. Why would I wouldn't? I say you stick them. First of all, no one's going to pick the Ruby team anyway. So
some people, people are dumb, Trace.
The only reason you might consider picking Ruby, let's make the bold assumption, a very bold assumption here, that they're going to stay teams for the final. And let's say that these teams are then going to have to split the $1 million. it would behoove you to be on a smaller team and have a chance at a bigger share of the money. So
It's
maybe
just going to be Cory and Big T splitting the money. And
well, that's going to be a train wreck. But maybe like, let's say you're in the final elimination and you know that the final is probably the next thing. You may consider, if it's Kyle and, Bettina, you could always pick Bettina up and carry her if you had to. But you might want to run the risk of, I would rather split $1 million 3 ways than 5 ways. Maybe, but I feel like most people want the win, so they're going to pick the strongest team.
I suppose. I think that's Galaxy winning. I could see somebody stumbling into the Ruby team just because people are dumb. It really does seem like it's going to behoove you much more so to have your lines spread out across multiple teams, though, and not like all packed into one team. Like, I actually thought it turned out to be pretty heady play by Nelson to tell Cory to go on the Ruby team. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem.
Why do you think it benefits them to not be on the same team?
Well, because then, like, if Ruby's in power, Nelson has somebody advocating for him. Like, if Emerald was in power, then, or if his team won, and
if they're in power, like, what difference does that make, though?
Well, like if Cory's team wins, it benefits Nelson to have an ally on that team, so they don't put him in.
But the team that wins can't put people in.
Yeah, they can.
What are you talking about?
The team that wins puts the person in it votes the person in. What are you talking about?
Didn't they vote as a house? Wasn't that
no? It was just the winning team.
It's just the winning team.
Oh, the winning team was the only people.
For whatever reason, I thought it was like the general group.
No, it was just the winning team.
If you didn't win, you get 0 say in the house vote. It's literally just the winners picking, and then
I don't even think they called it the house vote, though. Did they? They just called
they called it the deliberation. That was
just the agency vote, which makes sense.
The agency vote or whatever. Yeah.
So I thought that made sense. I thought that was a good play by Nelson to tell Cory to go to the Ruby team. Unfortunately, he should have sent him the other direction.
Well, Cory was the second person, I think. So.
Well, yeah, it was either him or Ed that was the second person, right?
Yeah, and Ed was like, "I'm gonna wait."
Yeah.
All right, what do we want to talk about? So another aspect of team seasons that I think is really good, and it solves a lot of the problems that we have with this particular aspect of the show. I love the mission that they had today.
Oh yeah,
I think it was.
I think it's so much more interesting to watch when people on our teams because you actually get to see them interact.
Yeah,
and it opens up formats that you couldn't really do otherwise.
Yeah, everyone goes at once.
Yeah, that's true too. Because with team seasons, you don't have as many of the turn-based ones.
Yeah,
they do have them. They're just not as common.
Yeah.
Here's the real question. All right, I want to see what you guys think on this. Did production always plan the switch to teams, or do you think this was a course correction?
I think they were planning a switch at some point. Yeah.
I think so too.
With just how to fit the episode order, they were going to need to move off the paired eliminations at some point.
Yeah. Either way, it was a great idea. It sucks that it made the parts of the first season drag, but I really think we might be in for a great run here. Like I thought the trailer promoting the rest of the season looked awesome. Like really awesome.
The other thing though is too, Trace, you have to do this at this specific point in the season because it wouldn't have worked at any other point.
I know that. That's what's crazy.
Balanced. Yeah. Because if you had done this even an episode ago, it wouldn't have fit.
Yeah. It was 18 people, 9 and 9, and it worked. It was great. Like it really was great.
So you guys are on board with me that this is worse for CT. Then by extension, do we think it's just worse for all the better competitors?
No, I don't think it's worse for CT at all. I think he's winning now. Like I'm fully bought in.
I can't see him winning. How are they not putting him in every time it's a guy's day?
Because
they won't do that.
Morons. They're idiots, Rob.
Well, okay, outside of them being dumb.
That's a huge factor, Rob.
His team might win every freaking daily now.
I guess I'm just lower on their team than you guys are. I think Emerald's better.
Dude, how can you be low on that team?
Like that's
I'm not low on it. I think they're very good.
These are all people that you think are good too, that you've talked about in the past. Like I'm shocked that you don't think this team is good.
I think they're very good. I think Emerald's also very good.
And here's the thing: not to say that Nani and Josh, and I'll even throw Casey in some of this because Casey's math is very questionable. If you saw her Instagram the other day, it was like, wow, girl, if you can't even figure out tens, that's a problem.
The focus has to be all these people are terrible at puzzles, right?
But
they just all suck.
But that's the thing is like, I'm looking at this thing and I'm going, Josh and Nani aren't like, they're not terrible. Okay. Like, I'm not trying to say they're bad competitors, but they're probably the two anchors on that team. Whereas you look at CT's team, there's no anchor. They're all good.
Yeah. Except Bettina.
Yeah, I don't even think she was as bad as she was made out to be.
No,
correct.
And even then, I think it's easy for them to get, if there's another female day, it's easy for them to say, hey, can you toss her in for us? Thanks.
I don't know. I don't know if they would do that.
Why wouldn't you?
I mean, it's going to be really interesting to see how much the veterans still continue to stick together. So like if we get, I mean, it's going to be disappointing if Logan goes in next week, then the next Women's Day, Emmy or Big T go in.
I mean, I think that's what's exactly going to happen.
Do we think they're like, why? Like, do they have a split the money deals or something going on? Like, why?
No, they're doing it because they don't want to. Like, the moment, once again, Priscilla broke up the vet plan. But here's the thing: if you're Devin, if you're Kyle, if you're who's another good one for this? Nelson. Okay. The moment you throw a really good vet in, that then gives them an excuse to say your name. So your whole goal here is to try to keep someone really good out of your mouth in this format, just like it has been. So from a safety standpoint, you can go to a Logan and say, hey, it's probably going to be you. Who are you thinking? And then you can kind of make different decisions based on that conversation. But the safe play is to keep putting the rookies in, because if the rookie calls out CT, then there's no blood on the vet's hands in that process.
Well, so my response to that would be, at this point, though, the responsibility is going to be frayed whenever any one of them gets put in. Like if Emerald put in CT, like it's not just one person or one pair who's responsible for that at that point. Like CT can't go back and put all of Devin, Josh, and Emmanuel and Nani all in one go. That doesn't work. Mm-mm. Like, so now that there's no one person to blame for that, they're not even going to probably know who is behind initiating it either. So
well, it won't matter who initiated it. If at least 3 people vote for it, you're going to blame that whole team, period.
Well, so what does that mean then? All right, CT blames them. What does that mean?
If CT wins the next daily, he's got a lot more incentive to persuade his team to throw that person in.
Well, that's not one person, though. That's 3 different people.
Then you get to pick.
So you pick one of the 3 people. All right, fine. Like I just don't. There's definitely a chance they think that way because again, they're morons. But like I don't. That makes no functional sense to me.
I missed what are you guys talking about? I missed the first part.
I just look at it from this way, Rob. I'm just looking at how people historically play the challenge. Okay, you're looking at it from this would be the correct strategy. That is not always how this plays out. And I really think that these people are thinking more about self-preservation than what makes a better strategy.
That is self-preservation. Like I want CT to go in now when I'm the winning team, so I don't have to go
Rob,
in against
like people aren't going to do people. Rob,
they're not going to do that
because people don't want to go in. People don't want to have to go in against him. Like that's
but if you win, you can't go in against him if you
Rob,
vote him. He can't pick you.
Rob, they're just thinking short-sighted. You know what I mean?
That is short-sighted.
Like you have to understand that like there's a difference between what's the optimal move and how people actually behave in real life.
I understand that is short-sighted, and it's also the precedent of what has been done before. In team seasons, teams have picked the better players to go in typically.
Yeah, but that was a different era. That era of the show was very different.
World of Worlds 2 is the most recent one we have, and there were obviously the Alliance stuff took over after about pretty quickly on. But look at the beginning of the season, what they were going off of was who was the best player on the opposing Alliance.
Well, when you can pick another person from that same team, you can do that, but it all got jumbled up in that process.
Yeah, but you're picking someone to go in that can't go in against you at that point. If Emerald votes in CT, nobody in Emerald is eligible for CT to pick them.
Yeah, I don't know. So, like, when do you think CT is going to start getting thrown in repeatedly, Rob? Like, when do you think this is going to happen?
I think he sees 0 eliminations.
When do you think it's going to happen, Rob? Like, we've been waiting for this all season.
I mean, I could see it next episode.
I don't think it's ever
Not
going to happen, dude.
What-
He's
how much you
winning.
wanna bet?
He's winning, and I will put $50 on it right now. He's winning. And the
I
reason,
just
and
can't
the
have this much
reason
liability
why-
on CT.
this is what happened. Okay, there were two things that happened in this episode that have completely convinced me CT wins again. Who got the last word this episode on how this whole rest of the season was going to play out? CT. He got the confessional that ended the episode, and it basically cast the story for the rest of the season. There was also a moment there were two moments in the trailer where you saw CT being super competitive, and then there was another flash where he had like this angry game face on. Like they are priming people for CT to get another win. It's coming.
I just don't see it. Like they give him a lot of those end of the episode stuff because they like him to be as like I remember World of Worlds 1, there was one confession we talked about like, oh, this season West can take over and stuff. Like he has a lot of those at the end of the episode because they just like putting him in that role. I don't buy into that as much.
Well, the reason though they didn't give those roles to Turbo is because Turbo's English wasn't, it was good, but it wasn't perfect.
No, but like, I mean, they clearly made West the narrator of that season. I don't put much stock into just one episode that he at the end of the episode.
Well, they haven't had to because he's been able to literally lay in the grass and do nothing this whole season. And now he can kind of take over and his team could literally be in the driver's seat the rest of the season. Like it's, I know that the other team won this particular challenge daily, but I would be putting my money on CT's team for every daily the rest of the season.
Like, so like the thing is, so is the thesis for why this is good for CT just people are dumb? Like, is that why we think it's good for CT?
It's not that they're dumb. They're really thinking from the self-preservation standpoint.
That's not self-preservation though.
From the
like
outsider's perspective.
No, it's not. If
yes.
you don't vote CT in when you're in power, next week he can be voted in and he can pick you. That's worse.
Right. But you also have to think through who CT is going to call out.
If he can't call out you won.
That's fine. What I'm saying is CT's going to look over and see who's there, and he's probably going to pick who he believes he can beat. And
the issue is, Rob, the issue is that if CT goes in, if you throw in CT, from the perspective of the people playing, they're thinking if they throw CT in, he's probably going to win, and next week he's going to fucking kill me. That's what they're thinking.
Yes.
Like, what does that mean? Like he's going to pick one of the three people who voted him in. One of the three, like there's three different people who voted him in. He's one person on the team, one voice.
Yeah, but none of them want to run the risk that they're that one
care.
person. That's the point. Like, okay, if you're on that other team.
Rob, hold on real quick. So, Rob, why do you think they haven't been throwing him in to this point? Like, why is CT not?
Well, there's been the Vets Alliance for this whole point of the season. We've only had 2 vets get voted in.
Yeah, but Rob, like by your logic, they should still be throwing him in this whole time. So why aren't they throwing him in?
Well, they've only had one situation where the Vet Alliance wasn't on board. And I would have been voting with the Vet Alliance too. I don't think that was a bad move. We had one episode.
So you don't think you think he's going to start getting thrown in a lot here?
I think yes, he will be starting to get put in.
How much you want to bet? How many times do you think he's going to see?
What does that mean, though?
How many times do you think
you are convinced that they should be throwing him in?
How many times the rest of the season do you think he's going to see an elimination?
I mean, but he could get voted in once and lose. Like, yeah.
I know, that's what I mean. So, like, if he loses, you automatically win.
Oh, okay. I would say over under 2.5. Like, I just don't think many people can win more than 2. It's just hard.
So you think it's a two is realistic though. Like anyone can get thrown in twice. Like,
but,
so I don't think
how many people get thrown in 3 times?
That's what we're fucking saying. Like there isn't enough time to get repeatedly thrown in here. I don't even know how many like male eliminations there's going to be.
But the thing is, it's not just that people don't get typically put in 3 times. People don't get put in typically 3 times because like they lose one of them. Like it's not easy to win that many eliminations.
The way that if my math is correct, okay, we have 19 episodes. We're going to assume a 2-part final. We have 7 more eliminations, which would get the entire cast down to 10 for the final, which is what I think is going to happen.
We're 17 now.
There are 17 people left.
Okay.
So there's going to be 3 at most without a purge guys eliminations. So if you look at it that way, you have to assume that CT's team is going to lose 3 out of the next 7 challenges.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, like, I mean, he could easily skate to the final here. Right?
yes.
Like if his team just happens to win on the guys'
That's
days,
fair.
especially with
best shot.
especially with Ruby out there too.
Like you don't worry about them winning a daily.
Unless if it's like one of the ones where it's the one that the rookies won on Gauntlet 3 where they just had the advantage for having less people.
Which is possible. I am completely for parity. It makes things interesting. But I'm looking at it too from where Devin's coming at. All right, let's say that you're the other powerful team here. So you've got the 3 guys there. You've got Josh, you've got Devin, and you've got who's the other guy on the team?
Emmanuel was the third one.
Emmanuel. Okay. Of those 3 people, let's say they throw CT in. CT comes back, and now he's pissed. Next go round, none of those 3 are going to be super confident in an elimination. Devin's not going to throw CT in and risk
I wouldn't
that.
be honestly. If I was anybody in an elimination at this point for the guys, I wouldn't be confident.
I agree.
I don't think there's anybody to pick at.
So why would you piss off
except
CT?
if you're CT? Like I think that CT is the only one that
I think he loses a lot of these eliminations.
No.
I actually agree with Rob on that aspect of it. I think that there are a lot of them that he could.
Like if he was in this week, do you think
he loses
people?
He loses a lot of them, Rob, but like on average, he's still like the favorite in every single one of these. You know what I mean? Like he's still on average a better elimination competitor than every single one of these other guys.
I think if you look at the way they've moved eliminations this season, we don't know if that's any.
But on average, who do you think is better than him then?
I think he and Nelson would be close.
Oh God!
Shut up. On average, no way, dude. You got to be kidding me.
I mean, his record in eliminations hasn't been strong. And I'm telling you, look at the eliminations they've had so far this season. Like if he did the one this week against Nelson, who wins?
I would say that
CT wins for sure. The one this week,
I would put my money on
CT
him.
Definitely wins.
Why?
Because he's bigger and smarter.
I think he just gasses out before Nelson does. I don't think he has the endurance.
Do we? Having seen CT in person recently, dude is back to CT shape. Like he's not in dad bod CT mode like he was against Jay and gassed out.
This one we could say is about, it's like we have a difference of opinion then. I think he has a decent chance to lose this one. Like the one they did a week before, I mean, it's hard to say because it was a paired one, but I don't think that goes to his strengths at all, where you have to balance the other competitor over the side of the balance beam. The one Gabo lost to Logan, where you have to pull yourself up on the rope. I think he loses that one to plenty of people.
Rob, so like what we're saying is, there's some that he loses. Of course, we're saying that. What we're saying is, on average, like who is he not the favorite against? That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, like, it's hard to say. We just don't know what it's gonna be.
I wouldn't take any one of these clowns.
But probably not. I would say he is on average just the favorite in most.
Could he lose? Absolutely. But if you're going into a betting odds situation, he will be the favorite against all of these people when you don't know what the elimination would be.
I guess suppose my hesitancy with him is I think he has pretty distinct weaknesses as well as distinct strengths. Like I think anything where he has to hold his own weight up just based on how like where he is at this point, that's a real rough spot for him. And that's a lot of eliminations.
I don't know.
How many of those have we had this season?
The Gabo Logan one, the one where they had to balance each other over.
Wait, what do you mean the balance where they had to balance each other over?
The one that Amber and Jeremiah lost, where they had to like balance.
That wasn't you holding your own weight though.
I would say to some degree it is. Can you imagine how hard it would be for like Big T to hold CT up in that elimination?
They're not. Where were they like holding it? Like so, Bettina was holding Cory up last. Bettina was holding Cory up.
No, I mean you had to balance on it.
So they're not holding each other up. Stop.
Okay, well, I don't. Whatever you want to call it. Then
what's another one where they're holding? What's another one where they're holding up their own weight? Keep going.
Well, we've had all paired eliminations to this point.
Yeah, but you just said that there were a lot where they were holding each other.
Oh, so we have the Logan and God one.
So that's not true.
The other ones. Well, okay. Well, I can barely lift the nations off the top of my head. Like it's not that easy to just have a Rolodex of them.
Yeah, but you can't say then that there are a lot.
Okay, the one where Kells and who was he with? Tracy? Was Tracy that he lost?
Yeah, so he's pulling someone else up. He's gonna fucking do great at that.
But it not in pairs anymore.
So yeah, so how is that? How would they do that themselves? You know what I mean? Like
I think they'd have the one person lean down.
They can't do that, Rob. Come on, you're really fucking stretching here. What else are we gonna talk about?
Well, okay, outside of him, who else do we think this impacts their game a lot, one way or the other? I think this is bad for Josh.
Why?
Because he's gonna get picked to go in if he loses, like by the person who's voted in.
Josh and Devin, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's big trouble for them. Like my whole reason why I was a bit more positive on him this season is all the previous seasons we either had to go in or they would pick, like there was somebody picking a competitor for themselves. They'd be picking the worst person. And I mean, we're back to that now. So that's a problem for him.
Yeah, I think they're the two dudes in the worst spot. If anything, if you're Ed, are you not the happiest rookie? Like, seriously, you're on a team with Nelson and CT, Ashley and Amanda. I mean, that's a strong team. Like, if you want to get to the final, this is who you want to run with if you're on a team. Like, this really could be a situation, unless they do team shuffling, where it could be 5 of them versus 2 and 3 people on the other teams. Like, that is where they're headed with that.
I'm really skeptical to run the final teams. I just don't see it.
You don't see what? Say it again.
You don't see them running the final.
I don't see them running the final teams. I just don't.
Yeah, I think it's unlikely. Like, I think it's very. Like, I think there's a
unlikely.
chance that they do, but I wouldn't bet on it.
Yeah. I think so. There's Josh and Devin. I mean, any of the girls were a little bit smaller, so Big T is she's probably in trouble here.
I think Big T.
At least big people like Big T.
I really think that Big T, Bettina, and maybe even Nani are the ones that are in the most trouble from this perspective. Because if I'm, let's assume that in the next 2, because if I'm the vets or if I'm the rookie, one of the rookies is going to get thrown in. They're not going to target another rookie female because it would destroy their ability.
It's unlikely.
It's unlikely. So if Bettina gets thrown in, she's going to have to pick a vet. And to me, the vet that I'm looking at is Nani because of her record. Like, that's the one that I want because her elimination.
Well, I think it depends on what it looks like.
Big T or Nani are your options, and that is your best chance to win. But you also have to assume that one of them is going to be safe. Yeah,
that's true. Because if Bettina's going again, either Ruby or Emerald won, and then whichever one's left over the other 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a fair point. The other thing, though, is too that you can see what the elimination is, and usually, like, it's relatively transparent in terms of what the elimination looks like. Like if you see a pole sitting in the middle of a ring, like you know what's happening. So
yeah,
usually you can pick that out pretty easily.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any. I think for the guys, I guess it's sort of the mid-range ones who somewhat benefit. Like, I don't know who are there other competitors for the guys outside of CT. Do you think people would pick out as being really difficult?
I think people are going to be hesitant to pick Nelson, and that's about it. I think everybody else.
Alliance-based than anything skill-wise, though, right?
What do you mean hesitant to pick Nelson for what?
The elimination.
Like if you get, they would call him out. I just don't see that happening unless it's a puzzle.
Yeah, but that to Rob's point, like, I mean, if they can see what it is ahead of time and they see that there's a good percentage of it that comes down to a puzzle, like, he's probably one of the first people I'm picking.
There's a lot of people to pick.
There's a lot. He would be my number 1 draft pick on a puzzle. I'd be like, I want
Cory,
Nelson.
Kyle.
Yeah, you got a lot. You're looking pretty rosy if that's the case. I was thinking more so just from like who else would the teams pick as somebody that's difficult to go in again? Like who's somebody else you would pick as a strong competitor for the guys? I think in this format, I think I would be looking at Devin just because his skill set's really beneficial in a team setting.
Yeah. I think Devin's biggest issue is if he's up for being picked and it's Hall Brawl, that's who I'm picking. That's exactly who I'm calling out. It's like, I want Devin in Hall Brawl. Please.
He doesn't seem that small. I mean, everybody on this, all the guys in the catch this one are all pretty big. So outside of Emmanuel, I guess he would be the other one. Maybe he just looks thinner, but he also looks very athletic. So
yeah, Devin in the past he's in better shape than he's ever been on the show. Like, I give Devin a lot of credit. He's gotten in good shape, but he has not performed well in physical type stuff in the past. And so if against the rest of these people, like if Kyle gets thrown in, and I know he and Devin are friends, but like at some point Kyle's got to go, like, dude, you're my best shot to stick around here. Sorry.
Oh, I don't see him doing it. I think he would take Josh or Emmanuel, depending on what it is.
I wouldn't want to go against Josh in Hall Brawl, not because I think
if it's like awesome. If you see a rope and like platforms, then
if you see rope and platforms, you go, I want Josh. Please give me the goof. I want him.
Are you saying if you're Devin?
you're anybody.
If you're anybody, but I think I was looking more so like I just don't outside of CT, I don't see many other competitors for the guys that stick out as somebody you really want to get like you would have a radar to get rid of, right?
I just think
they're all like whatever.
They're all relatively the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the same that they're all like very like mediocre competitors.
Yeah.
Or I wouldn't even say that they're mediocre. They're like if there's 4 tiers of like the best, above average, average, below average, like you've got CT who's way up here, and then you've got Nelson and a couple of people in that second tier, and then everybody else falls into that third and fourth tier.
Like I think they're all that's what I'm saying. I think they're all I definitely perceive to be all very similar. I don't even know who most people would pick out. Probably Cory. It seems like the people in the house would put Cory as the second best.
I mean,
out of the rest of them.
Yeah, I mean, Cory,
second best at what?
At anything, just best competitor in general.
I'd probably take Ed. I would probably take Ed.
I would
over Cory.
It's just he's a rookie. Like I in terms of if the house was picking.
Well, he will probably, if his team doesn't win, he would be the house vote for certain things.
Ed?
Yeah.
You don't think it would be Logan?
It probably will be Logan, especially if he's hurt.
So let's talk about that. Who do we think is going to get voted in next week?
We just don't know who wins. So
I doubt Ruby wins, so I have a feeling it's Logan. That would make the most sense. That is the pattern that has occurred this season. So if Logan is not medically DQ'd, he's the guy going in.
Should run some technical difficulties.
Yeah, it's kind of freaky.
No, keep going. Yeah. I might have a meeting in 10 minutes that I was unaware of.
Oh, okay. Well, then let's do power rankings. I feel like we've kind of exhausted, so let's do that. I'll start with my power rankings. Males, I think this one's number 1 with a bullet for me now. CT is number 1. Number 2, I would lean Nelson, and then 3rd, I would probably go Devin.
Hold on, let me do this real quick.
Yeah.
Or Rob, are you doing it?
Doing what? The power. Yeah, I got it. I'll go.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, CT, Nelson.
Here, I got it.
And Devin. On the male side, and then female side, I think you have to go Amanda, Ashley, Casey at this point, with the overall power rankings now changing up for me to CT, Amanda, Nelson.
Hold on 1 sec. Amanda, Ashley, Casey for the women.
Mm-hmm.
CT, Nelson, Devin. Mm-hmm. And then who do you want overall?
CT, Amanda, Nelson. Because if this thing, I mean, I'm not going to assume it stays teams, but on the off chance it does, I think the 3 people from that team that are definitely there at the end are CT, Amanda, and Nelson.
All right, Rob, go ahead.
I'll go with Nelson, Devin, Cory for the men. For the women, I'll go Tori, Nani, Casey.
Oh, hold on real quick. Fuck. All right. Tori, Nani, Casey.
Did you get the men?
Yes.
Okay, and then I'll go Nelson, Tori, Nani for overall.
All right. I'll go. How did I not have? Oh, we haven't done this for a while. That's why.
Yeah, we haven't.
I was gonna say, how did I not have Tori number 1 last week? But we haven't done this in
You didn't have anybody number 1.
few weeks. Yeah. So I'll go Tori, Amanda, Casey for the women, and then I'll go for the guys. Who the fuck knows? Like I'm gonna start putting CT in this. So I'm gonna go Nelson, Devin, CT. Overall, I'm gonna go Tori, Amanda, Nelson.
Cool.
I might even go Tori, Amanda, Casey, to be honest. Just because for the guys, I have no clue.
Yeah. You know, I'm gonna throw something out there before we close, since we're limited now. I'm going to make a case for why I think this is going to stay teams for the final.
Okay.
I think that they are trying to build to another champions or champions versus challenge type season for season 40.
Not a bad idea.
And the way you can accomplish that is you need some more new champions. And as of right now, your only two champions in the game are CT and Ashley. So to get more champions from this modern era, you need a team, and you hope that at least, let's say that your team is 4 people. Your hope is that 50% of those people are now new winners.
I can see that. The show hasn't so much value in that, in just the nomenclature of a champion, though. Like the show itself. Like, I mean, they had champs versus stars, and we're putting people who didn't even been in a final.
Yeah, but I there's a couple other things to think through on that. I mean, champs versus stars was a spinoff nobody gave a fuck about. Let's be real. Like at the end of the day, I enjoyed it, but at the end of the day, like most people don't count that as a win. Beanham and Murray might, but I don't think
they might need to if they're going to do that format.
Yeah, but even then, it was still Darrell, West, Banana, CT, Emily, all people that had won before. I think Tony was the only new winner in champs versus stars.
No, let me see.
Tony was the only new winner.
Yeah, Tony was the only new winner. You're
okay.
Right.
So that's not going to be super helpful for you. But there was a moment in the trailer where Nelson and Cory were talking, and Nelson said, nobody remembers your elimination record. Everybody remembers whether you've won or not. And so to me, I'm probably reading a little too much into it. But at the same time, if they're going to make a huge splash, like Survivor season 40 was Winners at War, if you're gonna, since they're all under the same umbrella now, if you're gonna make season 40 a big deal, you're gonna want to do some kind of like Clash of the Champions, or you're gonna do like, Battle of the, All Stars, and it's gonna be like a completely all-star lineup. So even your challengers might need to be all stars, because if you're gonna bring in all the heavy hitters one last time, you need some new winners. And I have a feeling that they're really hoping that they can get Nelson or Cory a crown to set that up.
If you had to put an over-under on the amount of seasons that the show will continue, what would you put the over-under at? God, you can even pick a year.
I would say this show has at least 5 more years of shelf life. So you're probably looking at 8 to 10 seasons right now, as of right now.
That's what I would say. We don't have much precedent for, like, any of those big reality shows haven't been like those reality competition shows. Like Amazing Race still going on, Survivor still
Amazing
going
Race
on,
is close, right?
Amazing Race, no, they've had probably 30 seasons, but that was when they were doing 3 a year. Now, especially in COVID world, they haven't been able to film a new season for 2 years. And even prior to this, their ratings were down. And I wouldn't be shocked if the Amazing Race, if it comes back, they're going to revamp it. But even then, they were at a point where we went like a year and a half between seasons because the interest just wasn't there.
We have seen like long-standing reality shows essentially get canceled, right? Like Road Rules, like they're bringing it now, but Road Rules was canceled.
I guess it's not reality. I guess it is reality competition to some degree.
It was essentially canceled. Like, I mean, they're not doing any of those. They're doing those like real world homecoming things, whatever, but that's not really the same thing.
I mean, I feel like the challenge is relatively safe, because if the challenge gets canceled, what the fuck is MTV going to do but throw more ridiculous?
I think that's the bigger question, right? Is like, does the challenge end up outlasting MTV?
The challenge is their highest rated show. Apparently, Challenge All Stars and Real World Homecoming are huge draws for Paramount Plus because they're doing more of them. They're bringing back Road Rules. I'm hearing they're bringing back the regular version of the Real World 2 to be a Paramount Plus exclusive. Like, it appears that they're going all in on the Beanham and Murray universe on Paramount's umbrella. So I mean, as long as there's interest and as long as it's generating dollars, it'll be here. And it's kind of hard for me to wrap my head around the fact that of all the reality show competition shows that are in America, the Challenge and Survivor are the 2 ones still standing strong, heading, in Survivor's case, season 41, the Challenge, season 37. There's no other reality show that even comes close to those kinds of numbers that's a competition. Fear Factor's been gone. Amazing Race is on life support. Name another competition reality show other than like The Bachelor, Bachelorette, and Dancing with the Stars that has that longevity.
That's interesting. Like, I think it's probably unlikely that one like that stays around that long ever again.
Yeah.
just with the way like
It's
attention
just reality
spans
TV is
work.
so new. We don't have much precedent for how long these things typically do hang around.
They
We-
either
we
go
just named
one
it- we just
season
named
or
a
they
bunch.
keep going.
Like we just named like a bunch that have been canceled that were along for a while. Like, I mean, at this point, it's been 20 years, which in TV is a really long time.
Yeah, nothing stays around for 20 years other than like Dateline NBC, and even that's
And The Simpsons.
The Simpsons. The Simpsons will never die at this point. They're going to be wheeling those people in with oxygen tanks to do those voices.
All right.
So, all right. I
What
think
else
that's a
do we
good
talk
place.
about? Yeah.
I think we gotta get out of here.
Yeah, I got to get
So
to
we
work, too.
have, if you want to become a patron, we just did a preview of the women that will be on All Stars 2, which now we know debuts November 11th. We'll do a preview for the men at some point in the future. I think based off of timeline, it sounds like we may get a speculated cast released for All Stars 3 by the
Soon.
time we do our next patron episode. So that may be our next patron episode that we do on Sunday. So if you want to subscribe to that, you can go to patreon.com/The Challenge Chronicles and subscribe for $4. Talk to you again soon.